$18 stood between me and dinner. My hands shook so hard the coins spilled across the counter. My name's Daniel, and I wasn't always the kind of person who froze at a grocery register. But after losing my job, then my apartment, I'd been scraping by on change, sleeping in my old car. That night, I hadn't eaten in 2 days. My stomach growled so loud the cashier winced. I thought I had just enough. Until she said, "Sir, you're short. $18 more." My throat dried. I couldn't breathe. And that's when I heard the squeak of old sneakers behind me. A janitor, blue uniform, bleach stains on the sleeves, stood in line with his mop bucket. He looked at my trembling hands, the scattered coins, the red shame on my face. He didn't sigh. Didn't roll his eyes. He said softly, "Don't worry. I've got it." I thought I misheard. Who would pay $18 for a stranger? The cashier paused, waiting. My body froze. Then, click, I heard his card swipe. The food was bagged. My pride felt shredded. I muttered, "You don't have to." But the janitor just smiled, like he'd carried heavier loads before. "Looks like you need it more than I do." People behind us whispered. Some shook their heads, annoyed at the delay. Others stared, like kindness was an alien act in a checkout line. One woman leaned down and whispered to her daughter, "See? That's how people should treat each other." And that whisper cut through the shame. Because maybe this wasn't just about me. Maybe someone was learning kindness in real time. Kindness nugget number 1. Psychologists found that children who witness generosity are far more likely to repeat it. Modeling matters more than lectures. The janitor lifted his mop bucket and walked away like nothing happened. But something inside me cracked wide open. I couldn't let it go. Who sacrifices a chunk of their paycheck for someone they'll never see again? So I came back the next evening. I watched from the corner as he cleaned aisles, quiet, unseen. Finally, I asked his name. "Mr. Alvarez," he said, adjusting his gloves. "Just a janitor." But another employee pulled me aside later. "He's no ordinary janitor. He works double shifts. Sends almost everything home to his family across the border. His wife's sick. His son's in school. That $18? That was his lunch money for the week." My stomach dropped. He hadn't just paid my bill, he'd given up his own meals. Suddenly the kindness wasn't cheap. It was costly. And I had a choice: accept it as a gift, or let his sacrifice vanish like spilled bleach water. That night, I sat in my car holding a loaf of bread he bought me. And for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel like a failure. Because someone still believed I was worth $18. Kindness nugget number 2. Studies show small unexpected help can reduce feelings of despair more than therapy sessions in crisis moments. The truth was, I'd thought about ending it all. But his small act, his quiet dignity, had thrown me a rope. Screenshot this quote and share it with someone who needs hope today. Sometimes the cheapest gift costs the most to give, because it carries dignity with it. I decided his kindness wouldn't end with me. The next morning, I printed a note: "This man fed me when I couldn't feed myself. Let's return the kindness." I slipped it into the break room where he kept his mop. By week's end, envelopes started appearing, $5, $10, even grocery cards. The manager added him to the Employee of the Month board. Customers who overheard the story began leaving extra tips, snacks, and one family even bought his son new school supplies. Kindness snowballed. Strangers helping strangers. And every act traced back to a man who thought no one saw him. I finally gathered the courage to thank him properly. He shrugged, embarrassed. I only did what anyone should. But then his phone rang. His wife's voice, weak but smiling, came through the crackling speaker. She said, "The doctor says I'm improving. Medicine's working." And Mr. Alvarez's eyes, tired, lined, filled with tears. Because the money the community raised had helped cover her treatment. Kindness nugget number 3, research shows giving or receiving help releases oxytocin, the bond hormone, which lowers stress and strengthens heart health. That day, the janitor who lifted others finally got lifted himself. I walked out of that store with more than groceries. I carried proof that compassion multiplies. We think kindness is fragile, but it's stronger than shame, stronger than hunger, stronger than silence. It can ripple from an $18 bill to a family's survival. Months later, I opened my glove box and found a folded piece of paper. A note I didn't remember writing: one day, repay kindness with interest. And just as I wondered how, I heard a knock on my car window. A young man stood there, eyes red, holding an empty wallet. Maybe it was my turn. Next week, the forgotten child whose song silenced an entire city.